here we are at Valiant Hearts, The Great War. Now this is another one of the big new titles that Ubisoft have announced. Sadly today it's hands off, but we are getting a wee guided playthrough from one of the game's developers. So let's just have a wee look and we'll show you what it looks like.
This is the story of 4 strangers who would somehow come to help a young German soldier find his love.
Valiant Hearts is a weird game to talk about. Full disclosure here. Obviously it was one of the games that hadn't been announced before we went in, and we kind of stood around with lots of people, and Ubisoft showed us some trailers, and then comes on this very kind of quiet trailer about World War I trench warfare, and you're thinking, what's this? This is a very different tack from the others. And I'll be honest, by the end of the trailer, I was actually getting quite emotional. I was actually feeling a wee bit upset.
Some made it. Some did not.
It was the only game that was there, apart from Assassin's Creed Pirates, which we couldn't be bothered going near, which wasn't playable. It was actually hands-off, being led by the developers, and it looked brilliant.
Yeah, it looked like something else. When it comes to war games, I've never really been much of a fan, because war games have always been set in that sort of action, first-person shooter kind of macho place, whereas this looks a lot more like an adventure game, and you know that we like adventure games here. That really appeals to me. What I like about it is that they've put a lot of thought into the characters and the character design and the art. But when the developer was showing off the game, right next to them was one of the lead artists.
Well, no, it's not the lead artist. That's the artist. Yes. That is the guy who's actually doing all this.
The artist using a tablet, which I was very jealous of.
It's big as a table.
And the art just looked beautiful. You could see him drawing it, and you could see all the little details on it, and those little details really come to life on the screen as well.
There was a lot of, what I thought was impressive was a lot of character in how it looks, and that's, I think, that's what will sell that game. It's the fact that it is not just an interesting looking story, it's how kind of compelling the art style is. I mean, the story itself follows a dog who's trying to assist a German soldier getting back to his love, and through that you'll meet different characters. There's a French prisoner of war, there's an American soldier, an English pilot. There's lots of things going on with that, but I mean,
I think they're all based on real stories as well.
Well, they're based on real letters and things like that, whether or not they all met the same dog.
The only limitation I think so far that I've seen, what they showed of the game was very simple to play from lots of things. Now obviously it was an early part of the game, so it was quite a tutorial based, it was, you can press this button to do this, you can do this, it's very obvious and signposted, so it might get more complicated as it goes on, but you have to hope that the puzzles will become more complex and more sort of taxing as it goes on. But then maybe that's not the focus of the game, maybe the focus is just a story, and I am cool with that. I
think that's the one thing. I think that will be the big thing, because for me it looked a lot like Machinarium. I never know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Because it is almost like a point and click adventure, but you're kind of interacting with the environments more. And I mean, what we saw of it, it looked great, but again, we saw very early gameplay for it. So I think it will. I don't think it's going to be one of those games you're just going to be like, oh, for God's sake, I can't figure this out. I think it's going to be more like kind of just a nice a game like Portal, for example. It was hard at times, but the solution was always there. You're never too stuck for too long, and that's what I'd like it to be. Just something that kind of keeps you going, it's compelling, mixes a great story, bit of humour, without being too frustrating, because this would be the ideal game to show to see somebody that's just in the interesting games. These are the kind of games that you show them and they actually kind of really show that. What's that about? And it's certainly not a topic that's often covered. I mean, World War I games, there's certainly not a lot of them, and I don't think there's many World War I puzzle games.
Now one thing that appeals to me quite a lot in it though is the American soldier being able to punch down blocks of wood. I think he's going to be my favourite character.
I don't know, the French guy battered some things with his ladle, so that was quite...
But whether or not the gameplay ends up being a bit more interesting or not, it certainly looks like a very admirable game, and that's something to be happy about, that there's games like this being made. So we're really looking forward to hear about Socket.
Definitely. So it's a fantastic looking game, looks very interesting, a lot like Machinarium, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, like a wee bit of puzzle. He did hint there will be some combat, but we imagine it will probably be a bit more puzzly than normal. So looks like a brilliant game, real shame we couldn't get a wee shot at it, but something I'm really looking forward to playing when it comes out.